introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and
Hmm.
what do you do for a living?
Sure. So, we moved back here in 1988 from Alberta. And my parents drove through North Hatley one day and we saw the space. They loved it. We moved here. We started the Cordon, which is we used to be on School Street. And since that time, I went to university, a little bit of mechanical engineering. I finished a degree in English Lit and Theater. And then in 2015, I decided to go back and get a degree in finance, right, at Bishop's University. And I did that because I had spent about 20 years doing all kinds of things, different things. Like I was in the hotel industry, obviously, with the Côte d'Or. We did real estate management, development. So, those are both fields that I'm very familiar with. One of the things, because my parents were in fashion and my grandparents were in construction, I always say my childhood is a mix of the smell of peroxide and drying concrete. So those are both things that I'm sort of deeply familiar with, the aesthetic and the practical. Um, and so in 2017, did that third degree. And from there, I kept doing consulting for another year or two. And then a friend of mine called me up because unfortunately, the teacher at Bishop's, no, sorry, at Champlain fell ill. And they needed somebody that could start teaching all of the business classes without any prep because it was into the semester already. So Wednesday they called me up. They said, "Hey, Aaron, can you send me your CV before 4?" The next morning they called me up and say, "Hey, we noticed your CV's in our database." And then they said, "Could you come in for an interview tomorrow," which included a 10-minute presentation. And it was something like light on the place of the crown in the legal environment for businesses. So they did that, and one of the points that I think I take a great deal of pride in was several years later I ran into one of the people that interviewed me, and he said that that was one of the best presentations that they had ever had in an interview scenario. So that was a lot of fun. But from there, because I was in academics, I had to sort of further my career as a teacher, and so that required a master's degree. And at the same time, in 2018, I had been elected as a town councillor. And, that was where I really saw to what point best practices in terms of administration isn't always followed. And so I was using that degree time to really get into things like governance and best practices. And so during my master's degree, I was invited to go directly into the PhD program. So I got an accelerated passage out of the master's degree to the PhD. And so I've completed all of that PhD course load. And now, last summer, I finished my exams. So in the middle of a doctorate, you have to do what's called a comprehensive exam. And the comprehensive exam is about a week-long test on whether you know what you're talking about in terms of the field. And I passed that. I passed the oral exam. So now my time is my own again, which is very different from the last 6 years of my life. I've been under a lot of demands and I've done a lot of things. I've got a lot of stuff done. But now I'm returning to a more normal lifestyle. And so this election really falls at a good time for me because I find myself with a lot of extra time again and a lot less stress. So I figured I should run for mayor.
And why do you want to represent the citizens of North Hatley?
Well, I've been here since '88, and I've seen how the town has changed, and I hear the things that people complain about in those changes. Right? People really miss community engagement. People feel like they've been blocked out of a lot of areas that we used to manage. And so, while there is legal precedent or requirements to not use volunteers as replacement employees, that doesn't mean you can't use volunteers. As long as the volunteers are running their own schedule, doing their own thing, fulfilling their commitments on their own time, the way they want to, you can have people who do things like water the flower boxes, right? But there are requirements for it not to be a job. And I think there are lots of things in town that we could be using our volunteers' deep-seated desire to help that we're not. right? Under the excuse of they're not employees. We can't use them as employees. Well, we're not going to use them as employees. We're going to use them as people who want to give their time in their own way. And so I think bringing back that community engagement, right? Trusting citizens to do the right thing on their own, right? The people of North Hatley are smart people. The people of North Hatley have been here some of them have been here for generations. They know how things work. Some of them have PhDs and educations beyond the average. We're one of the most educated municipalities in the province. And those people could really be giving us a lot more help than we allow them. And so I want to see us restore that appreciated community commitment, right? I want to see the town appreciate what people could bring. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
And how would you like to improve the quality of life here in North Hatley?
Well, if you allow people to participate and to help manage what their lives look like in North Hatley, they're going to like it more, right? And so I think people coming together and building a strong bilingual community, because, you know, people who move here or people who have lived here for a long time, they appreciate what the town is. A lot of people who come here because of what the town is. And they don't want to see it steamrollered into new projects or things destroyed just because, you know, we're too cheap to figure out how to fix them. And so, you know, that's what I want to see people have back in their own hands and understand why.
And what are your two main priorities if you are elected?
Communications, clarity of communications. I think we want to see North Hatley come back to a set of reasonable, peaceful standards where we're not always attacking each other. You know, there's been a lot of stuff going around, but one of the things that I don't feel like the town has really gotten is an appreciation for the commitment behind the complaints. People complain not because they want to complain, but like they don't feel heard. And so I think we need to take the time to hear those people so that they understand that they've been heard and we fully understand the nature of the complaint, right? And I think by being clear, you know, one of the things that I think I bring to the table is an educator's eye, right? Like I have to deal with kids of all kinds of ages, and I've done lifelong learning programs. I helped the program that was out of Magog for a few years. I've dealt with adults, with children, with university students. I help run a school in Calgary that's a self-directed learning school, right? And so that's a tremendous amount of autonomy that's being given to somebody. And communicating how people learn or how people understand what you have to say is super important. And so I think bringing back that clear communication so that people don't feel like the town is being irrespectful, which is a complaint that I've heard many, many times. I think that's one of the things I bring to the table.
And finally, what is your favorite place here in North Hatley?
There are so many favorite places in North Hatley. I mean, North Hatley is to a certain extent my favorite place. But obviously the point of view from Dreamland Park, the point of view from the gazebo, right, on the train bridge, the old train bridge, which was community built, right? Vision 2000 built that bridge with, you know, community commitments. My father was one of the people that helped build that. So, all that being said, North Hatley is my favorite point of view or place to be.
Thank you, Aaron.
You're welcome. Thank you.